Let's talk about the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution. The Equal Protection Clause was created to provide equal protection for everyone under the law. So we want everyone in the United States to be equally protected by laws. We don't want people to be discriminated against. This applies to government action. We are talking about the government enacting laws that discriminate. We want people to be equally protected by government laws. So can we have laws that treat people differently? The answer is yes, in certain situations. Now, equal protection is a little bit of a misnomer because we do allow the government to write different laws that treat people differently. What's important is that the laws have to pass the rational basis test. The rational basis test. If there is a rational basis for treating people differently, it is okay. So what's a rational basis? Well, this is very utilitarian, it's very functional. So is there a legitimate government purpose for the law, for the reason that it treats people differently? And if there is, if we can say, yeah, there'd be some rational reason why the government might want to treat people differently, it can do so. So we have equal protection under the law unless there is a rational basis. So what's irrational? If the government said, hey, let's create a law that allows people with blonde hair to run stoplights, right? There's no rational basis for allowing people with blonde hair to run stoplights. I mean, we can't come up with a reason of why they're different, why it would benefit the government, have some utility or function. And we can say, we could create a law that says, let's have people with electric cars be able to use certain lanes of the road, but not people with gasoline cars. There's a rational basis for that. We want to encourage people with electric cars to, we want to encourage people to buy electric cars and drive them, right? And we want to discourage gasoline, fossil fuel consumption. So there's our rational basis. Now, a big limitation to rational basis is that you cannot discriminate, you cannot treat people differently if they fall into a suspect class. So if your law is differentiating people by a suspect class, then it is an illegal law. So what are the suspect classes? There are 4 of them. The first is race and national origin. You cannot create a law that treats different races or different national origins differently. 2, you can't treat people differently based upon alienage. Are they a citizen? Are they a resident of the United States? That can't make a difference. You have to treat people the same. 3, you can't treat people differently based upon gender. Now, there's a little bit of a variation to this because we have a male-only draft. So there is a little bit of a different standard that we won't get into today. And then 4 is illegitimacy. This used to be a big thing that people would be treated differently if they were an illegitimate child. That's no longer much of an issue today, but it was at one time. So let's look at the Fitzgeral versus Iowa racing case. All right, this is an interesting case. It's about riverboats and casinos. So Iowa has slot machines on their riverboats. Down the Missouri River and on the Mississippi River, they have all these riverboats. They are casinos. You go on them, you gamble, and it's a big revenue generator. And so these slot machines are charged at a tax rate of a maximum of 20%. All right. Now, Iowa enacted a law that allowed slot machines at the dog tracks. It said the dog tracks would be charged at a tax rate of up to 36%. So there's a big difference, 20% on the riverboats, dog tracks, 36% tax on the slot machines. The Iowa Racing Association sues the Iowa government and says, equal protection, you were treating us differently. You're treating the riverboats differently than the dog tracks. At the dog tracks, we are getting hit with a harder tax. This is unfair. There is no reason for this. We should be treated the same as the riverboats. We want equal treatment under the law. So is this a violation of equal protection? Well, does it fall into one of our suspect classes, race, national origin, gender? No, it's not a suspect class. So we fall back to our standard of rational basis. Is there a rational basis for treating the dog tracks differently than the riverboats. And the court concludes, yes, the government of Iowa might want to encourage river communities. They might want to get more people to come to the communities along the river. Perhaps they've been damaged in flooding. Perhaps they are just being hit harder. Perhaps there's more competition from, rivers usually are borders. Maybe there's competition on the other side and you want to try to match the other side of the river, what their tax rates are, so that people come to your side or better them. So there is a rational basis here why you might want to treat these two types of casinos differently. So there's not a violation of equal protection. There is a rational basis, and the discriminatory nature of this law is allowed, that you can treat the two different casinos differently, that you can tax one at a higher rate than the other, even though they're both casinos. There's a rational basis for it.